Okay, so today's session is the practice, of course, also in tandem with the Satipatthana course, which is the second last week, the second last chapter. And just to give some background here, we have now kind of traversed through the whole Satipatthana Sutta and all the different things we can be mindful of in our experience, including the body, feelings, thoughts, mental activity. And now we're starting to have a look at these aspects of experience which are everywhere all the time. And this is called the Dhammas, or the mind phenomena. So these are phenomena or patterns that appear in our experience. And the pattern for this week that we're having a closer look at is this sense of self and no self. So what do I take myself to be, and can I get a little bit familiar with that process of how self is constructed? Um, and the purpose of doing that is to have a little bit less of a rigid, fixed idea of who I should be and who I am, and for that to be more adaptable and responsive given the situations and also the changing life circumstances that we evolve through. Um, Often we get somehow stuck or fixed in particular uh, arrangements of ourselves, whether it's very early on in childhood or as a teenager or later in our life, where we develop a certain type of self or sense of self. Maybe it's a very defensive one, or maybe it's one that is very self-critical. So anything which maybe isn't so helpful for our well-being or of other people. So to be able to loosen a little bit our hold on that. And my experience with this practice is the more I work with this non-self practice, both in the meditation cushion, but also in my daily life, the more space is given for a more honest or authentic manifestation or becoming of the self in any given situation. To use an analogy, it's a little bit like, I see it a little bit like body and body tone and muscle tone. So, for example, we need different types of muscle tone and bodily activity, bodily arousal for different activities, right? If I'm going to sleep at night, I need quite a low body tone, quite a relaxed body. If I'm doing garden work and digging some earth, I need a higher level of body tone. And our level of body tone ideally is adaptable and shifting based on the circumstance. If I would have a tense body, like an activated body like I have when doing garden work, when I'm trying to sleep, or when I'm trying to connect to someone, it will probably not end up in the best situation. And so the body level, body tone, body arousal is something that ideally is very adaptable and changes based on circumstance. And we often get frozen into particular body tones because we haven't learned to release and see through the body that is there. So it's a bit similar with the sense of self, which is really a particular organization of ourselves for any given situation. And we can often cling too much to particular organizations of ourselves that maybe aren't necessary, but certainly it is necessary to have a healthy self. Yes. So just to show you a diagram, hello and welcome to everyone else who is joining gradually. So here's some layers that we could say are our sense of self. This is the kind of current consensus in neuroscience about the different aspects of self. Um, Actually, I don't like how this top one was put in the top. Let's ignore that part. So we have our social self, the way our roles, relationships, our sense of belonging, our sense of identity and reputation in relation, and how we put ourselves in relation to others, which is really a particular felt sense, a particular narrative, a particular image. We have more this narrative self, which is more about how we narrate our own lives. In our head, we usually all narrate our life. Reimer, and yesterday Reimer did this, tomorrow this. Uh, there's this continuity through time and organized in space, usually about the self and beliefs about me through time, the narrative self. Then there's this preference self. I changed the word from Thursday from psychological to preference self because I think preference self is a bit more observable directly in experience. This sense of the likes and dislikes that we have in any given moment. Something happens in your experience, and there might be a particular feeling of liking it or disliking it. So that kind of self that arises and wants to either move closer to things or get further away from things. So this is also one of the things we start to observe in the practice, especially with the Vedana practice. And so this gets more and more subtle. The sense of agency, the sense of choice, effort, and control that we have, really important part of the self. And this is also something that we can start to meditate on and notice how that arises, how that feeling of I'm doing this, I did this ownership, claim of ownership of things, of meditation experiences as well that arises. And the most subtle probably is for most this perspective self, this sense of being the observer or witness or the kind of being at the edge of experience, looking at experience. This subtle sense of self. Yeah, and perhaps what can be even more deeper or more open than that is this sense of being open awareness, this sense of resting as awareness. And this is where we will end up today in the practice with this Tibetan instruction of non-distracted, non-meditation, basically sitting openly as experience itself unfolding. So not even to try anymore to meditate. Usually when we still try to meditate, there's still very much perspective and agency happening. So we deconstruct even these when we let go of meditating and at the same time are not distracted. But we might end up there or we might not, or you might end up there for a few seconds and drop back into some narrative or some preferences about what's happening. But we can keep recognizing that and drop back into open awareness. Okay. Are there any questions before we begin?
So was there one another layer at the very top, embodied self?
Yeah, embodied self. Yeah. Yeah, I was considering whether to put that one in or not for this session. It's really the sense of being our bodies. Like this is my hand and I'm moving it. But I didn't like how just now I generated the diagram with ChatGPT and then he put embodied self at the top, but I don't like that placement. Because I do feel it's more fundamental. But I also feel that it's not necessarily something that we're going to work with in this session. this embodied self aspect. Yeah, I personally get into more trouble when I disidentify with my body than when I feel more like inhabiting the body fully. Um, and so I choose not to include that for now. Maybe I will have more clarity about this in the future.
So we cut the body again one more time.
We include the body. We include the
Okay.
body, and we don't
Separate.
deconstruct it.
Okay.
Separate it for this time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. Great. So let's start practice. You can work with. I will give you some prompts, but you feel free to practice in your own way as well if you feel comfortable. Um, yeah, first maybe let's, before we kind of get into the meditation with eyes closed, let's keep the eyes open but make ourselves already comfortable, ready to practice. And just to have a look around you. In this space maybe which is familiar to you. This space which maybe you would say this is my space, or you maybe see some objects around you which you might recognize as yours, your own. Maybe there's even some objects around you which are not yours. Maybe you can just notice the felt difference between things that feel like they are yours and things that feel like they are not yours. Great. And then just bring to mind how you arrived here today on this, in this meditation, kind of what you did before this morning. These memories, reviewing maybe these memories, these images or words, however you feel your memories or feelings, impressions. And let's think about something from let's think about our childhood home, where we grew up, the home that we grew up in, the sense of being you within that childhood home. And coming back now to where you are, with eyes open still. noticing the sounds, noticing the visual scene, and the felt experience of your body. And just think back at the last memorable social interaction that you had. The last social impression that was somehow memorable to you, whether it was this morning or yesterday or even in the last week. Maybe there's even some fragments of what you were saying or what you were feeling or how you were relating with joy or sadness or excitement or neutrality, high energy, low energy. Notice the feelings and the impressions in your mind when you think of this last social interaction. Great. And coming back to where you are with your immediate sensory experience. Again, taking the forefront, what you see, what you hear, what you feel. This see, hear, feel sense doors, or like then we can say channels of our experience, are really the basic building blocks, the basic sensory building blocks of our experience. And the other more abstract thinking, different parts of the brain that build on top of this see, hear, feel. Now, of course, in all meditations, we always come back to this sense of seeing, hearing, feeling. And now, if you feel comfortable, you can close the eyes and just notice what changes when you close your eyes. And let's start with doing nothing and observing, noticing what kind of doings or things we would like to do come up when we simply sit and do nothing. And let's tune more into this field of sensory experience where we can rest in, which is less abstract. So the field of your body sensations, from the toes, feet, ankle, to the knee, to the pelvis, and for a moment, really feel them as your your legs. These are my legs, and I fully inhabit them. Fully fill them out with my being, my sense of I am these legs are part of me. I am these legs. I can move them. I am my legs. Can be nice to also feel that you are about to move them, which can definitely activate them more. This sense of agency, this sense of I can move this. Just imagining not doing the movement, just feeling this about to move in the legs. And then dropping that and more just sensing, just receiving the experience of the legs and the feet. Just as you receive the experience of sounds around you, you receive this experience of what you call leg sensations. Great. Let's do the same thing with the upper body, including the breath. Actually, let's do it with anything from the neck down to the pelvis, including the arms, hands, fingers, shoulders, chest, ribs, spine, belly. And let's start with the sense of this is me, I am this. I fully embody this, I inhabit this. I can move this. I am my breath. Notice the quality. And then shifting into more just knowing it, just conscious. Already there, already happening in full clarity, with full aliveness. And then doing the same with the head, sensations in the head, around the head, including the face, eyes, inner face, ear, back of the head. I am this head. Often we feel we are somewhere in our head looking out. What if we are the whole head? And then releasing that sense and just knowing clearly the head sensations and all of the body. And let's notice this subtle sense of pushing and pulling or liking and disliking of sensory experiences. And allow them fully to happen. Don't try to stop this sense of liking or disliking or suppress it. Notice cleanly, clearly, crisply what experiences you feel like you want to move away from and what sensory experiences you feel like you want to move towards or want more of, whether they are sensations in the body or sounds. Or even something that you mentally see or hear or remember or plan. fully embracing this part of us, this preference self, this liking, disliking, wanting or not wanting. Give yourself full permission to feel what you like, what you dislike. And of course, we cannot stop sensory experiences from happening. Just notice that. Maybe it's bodily feeling you'd like to have more of or less of. And just notice what it's like to see that you cannot really change or control the feeling. Some impression might be more neutral. Some thoughts will be more neutral, which you neither want more of or less of. They're kind of just there. Great. Now we're just going to have a little image that we're going to use, which I used once before. You might know it. Most of us, we feel we are here on the inside of our skin, looking out at the world. I just invite you to imagine for a few moments what it would be like to be erased, to disappear. So wherever you are sitting in your room, in your space, imagine you like an eraser that slowly erases your boundaries and your inner experience, and all that remains is what this empty cushion, this empty chair, this empty room, just your immediate environment. Now fully all of your awareness, all of your attention can be filled with external sensory impressions, sounds, or even vision if your eyes are open. Because where you were was now erased. There's just blank space. Great, and now the opposite. Allow the external to become unimportant and allow your internal world to become what's most important, the inner sensations, feeling, the inner body, the breath, any thoughts, images that appear naturally. Great, and now let's do our absolute best to not be distracted, to be fully present with our entire experience. Don't even miss one little thing, inside, outside. sound, sensation, thought. Great. Now let's do the opposite. Let's try to not be present. Don't meditate. Keep everything as it is. Keep sitting still, but stop meditating. Whenever you catch yourself meditating, drop it. Now we have two simple tasks working with. Firstly, not being distracted, dropping it when you notice you're distracted. Secondly, not meditating, dropping it when you notice you're meditating. And a little tip, rest openly. Rest as this field of experience. Rest as the openness in which everything is known in perfect clarity. including the distracted mind. Don't try to control your attention. Don't try to control your experience or what you notice next. Drop the narration and notice when it uncontrollably comes. Drop the images of yourself or the world. And slowly there might be this sense of just this. It was never any more, it was never any less. Everything is both there and not there, or both here and not here. So same with you. You are both here and not here. And to bring it to an ending, let us notice this subtle yet ubiquitous sense of goodness or warmth in everything, both animate and inanimate, in both ourselves and the world. There might be this ground of goodness. This ground of well-meaningness in yourself, in your body, in your heart, in your mind. And also in what's around. If it's something organic or not organic. And even that what is just remembered or imagined. Beyond our immediate sensory environment. Just tuning into that vibration, that base level vibration of goodness in all things. Just so that we become a little bit more familiar with it. Great. Then you may open the eyes if they're not open already. Have a move, have a stretch, fully embody who you are in this moment with your needs and wants. Maybe you want to stretch or drink something. Tasting yourself again fully. Okay, great. Thank you so much for practicing together. And welcome to stay on for a few minutes if you have the time and the desire to share or hear others. Thank you.